This next question pertains to housing, including housing for the unhoused, general affordability, and where new housing will be built. We all know that our city, and our entire region for that matter, has a problem with housing affordability and availability. We checked your websites, and every single one of you mentions housing, all saying or implying the need for affordable housing. Making housing genuinely affordable for the people who want to live here will be challenging and requires new housing supply to be constructed, with the question of where such housing will be built in both District 6 and across San Jose being of significant concern to voters. Additionally, housing for the unhoused continues to be an intractable problem. In light of this, what are your positions on the problems we face around housing, whether addressing the unhoused, general affordability, or where new housing will be built? Olivia?
Well, first of all, we definitely need to develop more housing across the board. District 6 needs to fill in the gap. We need to find places where to build, and that's affordable housing, market rate housing, all kinds of housing. We need to be able to compete. And as to where, I don't know right now, to be honest, because some developers can't afford to build right now. It's just not feasible. I was speaking to a developer yesterday, and the financing right now, they're saying that they can't afford to build. So if they're not willing to invest in the city of San Jose, the answer is we don't know if they're not willing to invest in the city of San Jose. So we need to figure out with them how the city can work with them to develop this said housing. That's the real honest truth. And if anybody has a solution and that's telling you, oh, I have the solution, the reality is that the housing solution is a very complex and difficult solution. Homelessness didn't happen overnight, everybody. So nobody has a true answer. And if somebody tells you that they do, I'm sorry to say, I think they're lying to you. But I can tell you that we can start ticking away and chipping away and figuring it out together, working with the state and working with legislators and trying to coordinate places. I know that the city has been trying to push and only working together and figuring it out together with the developers in an area where the stakeholders in the community has a say. And that's the only way that I can promise you, because we cannot develop without the community's input.
Alex? I've dedicated many years of my life and career recently working on housing issues. I've worked on over 60 development projects here in Silicon Valley, not as a developer, but on behalf of the community. How do we get the best possible development we can? I've also spent 8 years on the Housing Commission, working on housing policies and priorities. And here's what I've learned. I talked earlier about traveling upstream. We have to address these issues earlier before they get so big and so expensive. And so part of the way we do that is building more housing. I advocate in the work I do at Catalyze SV for housing next to commercial corridors and public transit along main streets in District 6, like Bascom, Meridian, West San Carlos. That is where we can afford to go up, and we must go up, because I'm enough of a capitalist to know that there is a supply and demand issue here. We must have more housing to match the people who want to live here. We cannot afford to allow our children and our grandchildren to move away simply because they cannot afford it. We have to travel upstream on homelessness as well. We have to prevent homelessness in the first place. And so I've been very supportive of a new program at the city called eviction diversion that's been very successful. In fact, 95% of people who go through early interventions around homelessness assistance stay in their housing for 2 years afterwards. And the eviction diversion program is, if you basically fall behind on your rent, the city will step in one time and pay that rent to keep you in your home. And that is a 75% cost savings for our city and for us as taxpayers to keep people in their housing. So we need more of those early interventions that keep people in their homes and prevent homelessness in the first place while we build more housing, particularly permanent and affordable housing for those who need it most.
Production, preservation, and collaboration are the ways that we can work through this housing model. We understand that we need to build 63,000 new units by 2031 in the city of San Jose. We need to build as fast and as much as possible. We need to incentivize developers so that their math does pencil out. We have opportunities through incentives, through streamlining processes, opportunities for grants, creating legislation that allows us to be able to open up land use for them. Preservation, looking inside of the model. Right now, inside of the city of San Jose, there are 13,000 unoccupied units inside of the city. 20% of the problem that we have currently within the city exists in our current inventory. With a stroke of the pen, with some good ideas, with some collaboration in mind, we can come up with ways to incentivize the use of that land itself. I was walking in Shasta-Hanshin today, and the neighborhood itself had right off of San Carlos, there was 2 homes that were completely unoccupied, and the blight had gone so bad that now what happens is the only option, because we had left them abandoned for so long. Blight equals crime, equals lower property values, incentivizes more people to move into the area. The only option left is to demolish everything, because across the street was a meth lab, right? So this just can't work, right? This is the quality of life issues I continue to talk about. And then collaboration. We know that we need to build as much and as fast as possible. However, a yes and, as Sarah would say, we need to ensure that we have the conversation with our neighborhoods, our neighborhood associations are integrated into the process as early as possible. I know the legalities, I know the processes inside of this, but the opportunity for us to engage early, often, and collaboratively can help make sure that development looks in the right type model for the specific district and the specific area they're asking to develop. Thank you. Michael?
Well, we need housing at all income levels, and we need more of it than we can get in the next 10 years for sure. I talked about the headwinds on our retail community. We have very much the same and even more drastic relative to building housing. Cost of construction, available financing, all huge challenges right now. But meanwhile, you have the state of California setting down these mandates about the type of how much housing we need to deliver. And if we don't, then they sort of enact this piece called Builder's Remedy that sort of takes away local control. That should worry everybody in this room that cares about a single family home that might sell next to you that may have the ability to go to 8 or 10 units. This lack of local control is creating and will continue to create a lot of havoc in our community. And so I believe that those developers that are what we call going in the front door and having conversations with their neighbors before they sort of come in and throw a grenade next door, those are the kind of responsible developments that we need to encourage in our city. And San Jose needs to do what it can to fight back against these California mandates and regain local control. The key about housing for me is that we need to put them where jobs, housing, transit, and we also need to turn on the value of our urban villages. San Jose has dozens of them. I think the city of San Jose, while we're in this lull where we can't build because of financing and construction costs, they should be advancing CEQA in those areas so that when the spigot gets turned back on and we can build again, that challenge that would ordinarily come to a developer is moved out of the way and they can move forward. Thank you.